Morning. It's Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. I'm Larissa. This is my video diary. So yesterday, a few things. Yesterday, I started my painting. Actually painting, mixed the paints, and I had to walk away from it. I had fully intended to paint all day yesterday, and I only painted for maybe 3 hours. And I had to walk away from it. So hopefully when I go in there today, I'm not going to still hate it. And that's all I'm going to say. Hopefully sleeping on it and coming back in with rested eyes. Right. Hopefully. We'll see. And then last evening, I've had it with PBS. I used to love PBS. I used to love public broadcasting when we were first out in California. Like, and when I was in college, I listened to that. I listened to WDET. Especially when I was down late in the studio working or whatever. And I'm not speaking about WDET specifically. I'm speaking about PBS. Their programming. I will never, ever, ever trust any of their documentaries ever again. And this is why. So last night, Omar and I watched a short one. It was a little one of their little clips, interviews, 13, 14-minute kind of thing, short little film. And it was about the Arab community in Detroit and Dearborn. And it was so inaccurate and politicized and manipulated. And so the young man that was like, it was all done around food, right? And they were talking about falafels. It's like, okay. And this kid was probably in his late 20s, early 30s, right? And he was born in Iraq, and his family came before the Iraq War, which would have made it when I was in high school, right? And he was Chaldean and talking about, all this stuff in Detroit and taking this guy around, to experience this stuff. And this guy was Ethiopian, born in Ethiopia and raised in Sweden, right? And there's an Ethiopian population in the Detroit area too, which was what was really strange to me, was that, there was no mention of that to this guy. And then the young man who was Chaldean, he does say, oh, the Chaldeans were here first, but he was talking about like when his family came. Well, and he was saying how, oh, we all lived in peace in our country, and I'm like, wow. So the Chaldeans were in the Detroit area long, long, long before the Iraq war, that war started. The Chaldeans were settled in the Detroit area many, many years before that. Many, 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 many years before that. And the Chaldeans had come to the United States, the ones that were in the U.S., that were in the Detroit area, that had come first, came because they were being slaughtered by the Muslims, right? And they were being conscripted by regime into the army. So they came to the United States, and there was lots of unrest, particularly in Detroit, because he was going on and on about, oh, it's all one big happy family. That is not the case, or was not. At least it was not when when I lived in the area there, and there was a lot of animosity because the Christian communities were the Christian and the Muslim communities, right, within the Arab community, there were at odds at all times, and they had been at odds in their country as well. Um, oh God, it was violent, extremely violent. And the Persian community in that area didn't want anything to do with the Arabs, and the Arabs in that community didn't want anything to do with the Persians. And oh my gosh. And so the Chaldeans were lived in community with the Albanians that were there, and the Macedonians. The Macedonians lived in those same areas as well. Oh my God. But the way that this was being portrayed was like, oh, we're all one big, everybody's one big happy family, and there's so much violence. There was so much violence between those communities and within that community. The PBS just like, I will never ever trust a PBS documentary again. Never, never. And at one point, they're visiting this guy who was an Arab refugee. His family were Arab refugees from Arab Muslim refugees from Syria, and he had lived in Turkey as well. And he was a cook. He was a chef, and they're cooking, doing an eggplant dish, and it's like, oh, okay, is this Syrian or is this Turkish? And he's like, it's Turkish. Well, the thing that was really interesting to me was they're talking about, how all of these communities in Dearborn and Detroit are one big happy family. And no, if I had a penny, I said to Omar, I said, if I had a penny for every time I heard an Iraqi Chaldean say filthy Turk, I could have paid my tuition. Yeah. So, it's interesting, and it's like, what is the agenda? What was the political agenda of PBS in making that little documentary? They didn't even talk about the other Arab communities that are there. They didn't talk about the Egyptian community. They gave lip service to the Lebanese. They said, oh, the Lebanese, and there are, and all the bakeries and all the shawarma shops and everything. Yeah, made it sound like it was only Iraqis and Syrians that are there, and that's not accurate either. Oh my God. Yeah. Really, really strange. Just really, really, really strange. And am I saying that, it, it's not cool to do those types of do little documentaries on different cultural groups that are in places? No, but it's unfortunate when they're selective in their facts or creative in their facts historically. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how many Afghanis are in the Detroit area now. Because I know out here in California, there's a fair amount of Afghanis that have come to the U.S. Yeah. I just think it's really unfair. People trust PBS as an educational kind of thing, and the inaccuracies, the politicization. Um, it's unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Like I said, I will never trust a PBS documentary again, and they will never ever get any money from me ever again. I used to give money to them. It's been years since I have, but I used to give money to them. Get the tote bags and the umbrellas and all that shit. Anyway. Work on that painting some more today. I hope I can get it to a point where I don't hate it. Because right now I hate it. I mean, it's not even I'd say it's about a quarter of the way done right now, right? So there's still a lot of time, and but this is the first one that I've worked on where I've been like, I had to walk away from it. Yeah. First one that I've worked on where I have wanted to just smear it and wipe it all down and start over again. It's not going to happen. I'm going to just keep working at it. I'm going to keep working it until I get it to work. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I'll tell you what, though. The PBS documentary made me hungry for some falafel. I want some falafel. Some good falafel. Not stuff that's overdone and dry. It has to be juicy falafel. Not wet falafel. Not mushy falafel. But falafel where the chickpeas are just right. Fried just the right way. Hey, mister. How are you? You're so handsome. He is. He's so handsome. Anyway. Last night I made those black-eyed peas and mahogany and collard greens. And I had cramps so bad last night. I wasn't even hungry. It's awful. So I didn't eat hardly anything last night, but Omar did. It was good. There's enough leftovers down there. Leftovers, so we'll have that again for dinner tonight. Yeah. Anyway. Realized yesterday that I missed my chiropractic appointment last week, and that's why I've been so jacked up. It was scheduled at a different time than when I normally go. And it just out of my routine, and I missed it. And I realized it because I was like, what time's my appointment tomorrow? I don't remember having an appointment tomorrow. And I'm like, I think I missed my appointment. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll take me back. Geez, didn't show up for an appointment. Larissa no-show. That's shitty. It's shitty. Larissa no-show. Anyway.